are now in the semifinals. And spawning in the top right hand corner of Glittering Ashes LE, we have the Peruvian Zerg player himself representing the CranKy Ducklings. It is Ryu. And spawning in the bottom left hand corner of Glittering Ashes LE, we have the Brazilian Protoss player himself representing his brand new team, Platinum Heroes. It is MasTeR, otherwise known as the King of Pain. Ay. I'm not too sure how I feel about his aliases. He does have a lot of different accounts with a lot of different names, but of course this is MasTeR. And I mentioned it earlier, I think it was 2 days ago, maybe less than 2 days, he did join a brand new team, Platinum Heroes. I'm sure they're going to take good care of him. MasTeR is an up-and-coming player in Latin America. He has a lot of potential. I can see that. I'm sure everyone can see that. So, and obviously Platinum Heroes sees that as well. So it's really cool to see them support the scene. Meanwhile, semifinals. I think it's time for people in the chat to play some bets. Here we go. Because we have reached our semifinals, let me just quickly try and set this up. You have 3 minutes from hearing this message to place your bets on who you think is going to be able to make it to those grand finals. Is it going to be our Zerg player or our Protoss? Both some of the best in Latin America. Ryu, I would say, is the favorite, but MasTeR is the up-and-coming player who has had a lot of really good results under his belt. And I'm a little bit surprised by the vetoes here. Usually MasTeR wants to play on some of the smaller maps. He enjoys hitting these kind of early or mid-game timings against Ryu. That's where he's at his weakest. Late game, I don't know if MasTeR really wants to play against Ryu in the late game. I don't know if that's the best choice, I'll be honest. We'll see. Meanwhile, massive shout out to Garbo Ham in the chat. Hello, Papi, hello. Subscribing for 25 months. That's a lot of months. That is just over 2 years, mate. I can't believe we've been doing this for over 2 years. Thank you, Papi. Thank you. Thank you so much, Garbo Ham in the chat. I appreciate it. Papi. Less than three. But here we go. We're getting into this. So far, standard openers here from our Zerg player Ryu, Hatch Gas Pool, going to his third base as well, at the typical time that we would expect to see it. Meanwhile, MasTeR back at home going for a Stargate opener, and this is immediately going to get scouted here by this Overlord. I love the way that Ryu does this. He dips in just barely, he scouts and confirms the tech, and he should be backing off, and he should be hiding this Overlord in the top left-hand corner of the map. We'll see. Oh, but of course, he wants to wait, and he confirms the Void Ray coming out and the Chrono Boost. Oh. Can he get away from the Void Ray, though? That's kind of the big question. Bearing in mind that that Overlord was just out of range of the building, and now the Overlord is running away, trying to hide from this Void Ray. The Void Ray is rallied to try and look for it, though, so we'll see if the Void Ray finds it or if the Overlord can escape. Meanwhile, it is not going to be Sky Toss, not like what we saw last game. We are seeing a transition into Ground Toss. We do see a Twilight Council and even an Oracle. I'm curious to see if MasTeR stops here at one Oracle or if he keeps on going and goes into like a weird triple Oracle post Stargate. Sorry, post Void Ray. We'll see. Meanwhile, the other thing that I love about Ryu is that he also goes for, he stays in gas and he goes for Overlord speed here in this matchup, because he knows how important it is. Meanwhile, MasTeR barely does find the Overlord. That was so close. Ryu again, he relies so much on this Overlord to get into the main base and scout. Unfortunately, Overlord speed finishes and he has to rely on a second Overlord instead. Thankfully, Ryu did have it here on the right hand side of the map. He's going to dive in, confirm the third base, and he should confirm the tech. He's on the way. At the same time, the first Oracle is coming across the map. We have Spores in position. We have Queens as well. The Oracle isn't going to find too much damage here. But again, what's important is whether or not Ryu gets a scout off. The Void Ray is going to try and intercept. And yo, he even hides the Adepts. I love it. Is it going to be worth it though? He does hide the adepts, but in the end, the Twilight Council gets spotted here. Oh my god, the lack of forge, the additional gateways. Ryu knows what's going on. And now he should be getting ready back at home. We have the pseudo wall, we have the Evo chamber, we have the roach warren. Roaches are already on the way. We've droned up to 40, 50, 60 workers. That's a lot of workers. And from here, Ryu, all he has to do is make roaches and he should be fine. At the same time, we do have the Oracle harassing a little bit, but Ryu is able to respond in time, is able to focus down that stasis trap as well. Doesn't get anything stasis, just a little bit of lost mining time. Meanwhile, that's a lot of adepts. They are coming across them. They get spotted here by the Ling of Ryu. And does he have enough to defend? Looking at the unit tab, we have 3 roaches. That's not going to be enough. Yo, Ryu, he droned up behind this? I'm worried that Ryu may have been a little bit too greedy, but with all these queens, is it going to be enough? Can we transfuse? There's not enough entry for transfuse. Another queen goes down. Roaches are trying to trickle on in, but I don't know if there are enough of them. Meanwhile, we do have a shade, but the wall is a wall. The shade will not break into the natural base. And the stasis trap is just barely out of range. Feel stasis trap, man. That's the saddest stasis trap I've ever seen. Oh, it does go off though. It does finally go off. Does get 4 of those drones in the end. Could have been better, could have been worse. But what's important is that the adepts have been defended, despite the fact that I think that Ryu was being a little bit greedy, and he was losing a little bit. He lost 4 queens in the end to those adepts. They were able to buy time anyway for the rest of these roaches. Ryu, he holds on, he takes the 4th base, and he can now take up. Meanwhile, oh my god, I thought that I thought the wall wasn't a wall for a second there. I think MasTeR thought so as well. I was about to say that these adepts, like, we still have to take them seriously. At any moment, if they ever shade into a mineral line, they will get damage done. Like, they still have so much sustained power, so Ryu has to remain diligent until he gets a kill on these adepts. That's why we see them sharking around. They just keep rotating around from base to base. They're terrifying. We see a shade in towards the 3rd base. Thankfully, Ryu is here in position. We shouldn't see a commitment. There we go. MasTeR, he rotates around towards the natural instead. Back at home, he is going into Blink Stalkers, which is meta nowadays. You know, we want to see Blink Stalkers. That's exactly what we're getting. They're moving out across the map. No Warp Prism, so a very bold move here by MasTeR, relying a lot on these force fields. Too much even. Too much. Ravagers are here to meet him. Hydras are on the way. At the same time, adepts try to shade in, and they will commit to shade. They're going to bust through. Oh, that's a kill, not a cancel on the Evo chamber. He does break into the natural base. The army of Ryu has to respond, but he has to split up here because he doesn't want to lose his 4th. But as a result, he's going to lose a lot of drones. 11 drones already going down. This is the scary thing about adepts. They may not initially deal damage to begin with, but again, they can go in whenever they want. At the same time, the main army is trying to push in towards the 4th base, and Ryu is being pulled apart right now. He doesn't have a large enough army. The Hydras are falling left and right. The Ravagers aren't doing enough either. There just isn't enough roaches here to defend. Again, you can argue that Ryu was maybe a little bit too greedy earlier. Greedy when it comes to taking up. The Hydrogen really was not what he needed. Yeah, we needed more roaches and more Ravagers. Meanwhile, look at how many workers went down. 23 in the end. This is what I mean. Ryu, he lost 23 workers, and we're kind of even in the worker count. That just goes to show how greedy he was being, and it was just too greedy. G gets cold, and MasTeR will take game number 1. Oof. Ryu being pulled apart there. He did such a good job defending against the first wave of adepts, but they came back. They came back with a vengeance. On top of that, just the way that he was droning, the way that he was teching as well, a little bit too far, not really anticipating, or you could argue that maybe not even going for a rescout as well, just to confirm the fact that MasTeR was being as aggressive as possible. We pointed it out, MasTeR didn't even push out with a Warp Prism. Like, that's how quick he was fighting, that's how quick he was going. I'm sure Ryu was waiting for a much more standard timing instead, but MasTeR was just so in his face. Oof. Very aggressive play, very well done by our Brazilian Protoss player. And now Ryu is up against the ropes right now. Personally, I'm a little bit scared. I'm a little bit concerned. I love my Ryu, you know, he's he's my boy. He's one of my many children, and hopefully he does well here. But I was talking about it earlier. Ryu is at his weakest here in the mid game before he can get lurkers, before he can get a good amount of hydras out. This is where he's at his weakest, and MasTeR knows that. MasTeR, he's fully aware of not allowing Ryu to get to 80 workers, not allowing Ryu to get his economy going. They've played each other many times. He knows this, and he is trying to exploit that. We'll see if he can do so again in game 2. So we are loading on in. Meanwhile, I'd like to, of course, direct everyone to the chat. Exclamation mark Funada for sure is shaking my head. Oh god. For sure, you haven't even listened to Baby Link's music. What are you saying, Papi? What are you saying? Ah. As we are loading into game number 2 and spawning in the top right hand corner of 2000 Atmospheres LE, we have the Peruvian Zerg player himself representing the CranKy Ducklings. It is Ryu. And spawning in the bottom left hand corner of 2000 Atmospheres LE, we have the Brazilian Protoss player himself, currently leading this series 1-0, representing his brand new team, Platinum Heroes. It is MasTeR. Hold on. I just seen. For sure, it's been funaded 111 times. I would say that's not enough. That's clearly not enough. That's shaking my head for sure. It's shaking my head. As we are getting here into game number 2, personally, I hope we get to see an ace match, regardless of how this series goes. I want to see a game 3. I don't want to see a 2-0 either way. I know it sounds a little bit biased right now because Ryu is down in this series, but yeah, I want to see a more back and forth here. Ryu he just wasn't really able to get into his game. Again, I do love the way that he responds to Glaive Adepts. He is so on top of walling off and getting his Evo chambers up and running, but sometimes, as we saw, sometimes it just isn't enough. Ah, my bad. I didn't realize, sorry. So for those wondering, my camera did freeze because I was doing predictions earlier, so I apologize for that. I apologize. Meanwhile, massive shout out to BMoff in the chat for the 55-person raid. Thank you so much, Papi. I hope you enjoyed your WTL cast, question mark. I'm not too sure what you were casting. I think it was WTL. I hope you enjoyed yourself. Thank you so much. For those who are tuning in, we are in the semi-finals here of Sentimiento Latino number 133. That's a lot of Sentimiento Latinos. It's a tournament that has been running ever since 2019. A lot of additions here. It is a Latin American bi-weekly tournament. And here we are in game number 2 of our first semi-finals match. MasTeR currently up in the series. I know it says King of Pain in game. I mean, he does love his pain. But he is the Brazilian player, and we'll see what he does here this game. Last game, he did go for a Glaive Adept push into a follow-up Stalker timing without a Warp Prism. Very aggressive play. We'll see what he has to offer in game number 2. So far, Ryu dips in with his Overlord, confirms the position of the Stargate, is barely in vision here to see the first unit, and once again, Ryu confirms that it is a Void Ray first, and now this Overlord has to book it. He's got to get the hell out of here. I like the pathing, not quite hugging the edge of the map, more in the center of the map instead. Gonna try and avoid the path of the Void Ray. Meanwhile, the Void Ray isn't rallied anywhere yet. There we go. The Void Ray is rallied to the edge, so based on this pathing, the Void Ray is going to initially miss this Overlord. So very, very nicely done here by Ryu. The obvious thing to do with this Overlord is to hug the edge of the map. That's why MasTeR is going there. But Ryu anticipated that, so kind of mind games going on here. You love to see it. You love to see it. But the Void Ray is eventually going to find this. Ay. He is looking around and just barely misses the Overlord. Oh my god. So nice moves there by Ryu in the end. Meanwhile, in 8 seconds, 7 seconds, Pneumatized Carapace is about to finish up. That's Overlord speed, so Ryu can go back in and confirm whether we have a commitment into Stargate play or if we have a Twilight Council. It's important that he sees that Glaives are going to be on the way. Meanwhile, Ryu also confirms that a third base is thrown down here from the side of MasTeR, so he knows it's not a 2-base all-in. Overlord is going to try and dive in, but oh, it does get intercepted in the end and does get sniped before he sees too much. But at least he barely saw the Twilight Council. So he has some information to work off of. He didn't see the gateway count. He didn't see the forge. Wait, what? Oh my, is this a fake? I say forge because I thought it was +1 armor. Sorry, it is +1 ship carapace ship armor? Question mark? So because of this, when Ryu checks the wall, he's gonna see this researching, but Ryu saw the Twilight Council, so he knows he needs to make roaches, right? He shouldn't be fooled by this. Shouldn't be. Here we go, the Adepts are coming out, the Overlord is going in, but he sees all the Adepts, and we did see that MasTeR just then was trying to hide the Adepts from the Overlord, but it was not meant to be. Ryu sees everything, and now he's getting ready for the wall. Again, this drone has one job, it's to make an Evo chamber and make sure nothing gets through into the natural. We'll see if he can get it done. Meanwhile, roaches are coming out. Looking at the units tab, how many do we have? We have 7 roaches so far, 4 more in production. Lair has been made, and Ryu has droned up to 60. Again, that's a lot of workers, hopefully not too much. The defense is going to be a little bit on a knife's edge here. So far so good. Does force all of them back, and the Evo chamber was thrown down, so there is no way in towards that natural. MasTeR going to rotate around towards the third base. Ryu already has his 4th on the way, and because of the location of the 4th, it is safe from these Adepts. Not going to be taking any damage here. Not yet. Meanwhile, the Adepts once again threaten to shade in towards the third base. We see a double robot response from MasTeR, so MasTeR is switching things up here. He's still going into Blink, and is he finishing armor? What is happening right now? Is this a thing? I've never seen someone go fast ship armor like this. Okay, meanwhile the Void Rays, they try to threaten the fourth base. Queens were in position. So far the Adepts haven't dealt any damage, but again, they're always sharking around. So far the wall is not a wall. They could try and find a way in. And with this double robo, we are seeing a transition into robotic space. So this should be into double disruptor production, maybe Colossi, but more often than not, it is going to be disruptors. Ooh. Questionable shade. He goes in trying to get maybe a queen, but as a result, he's going to be punished for it. The roaches dive on top of the Adepts. Oh, MasTeR being a little bit too greedy there, loses half of his Adepts in the process. Meanwhile, the Void Rays dive in. Queens are a little bit out of position, so they do get 1 Overlord, but only 1, as the rest of them are going to be able to swat away these Void Rays, and Ryu has done a great job defending so far. So far, though, he hasn't been able to scout the follow-up. He hasn't been able to confirm how many robos there are. So he does have an Overseer in the main. Just the main, though. Just the main. I do appreciate that Ryu is taking up quite quickly. You know, Hydra's on the way. Lurker Den is being thrown down, so Hydra, Lurker, eventually Viper is what he wants to go for. Hive is already on the way, and that's exactly what he needs against Disruptors. But there is a window here. There is a timing before the Vipers come out where MasTeR can do a lot of damage. And that's exactly what's happening. Here we go. The War Prism is coming across the map. War Prism speed about to finish up in 10 seconds, and we have 2 Disruptors already loaded in. Oh god, how good the shot's gonna be. Has to be a little bit careful. We do have a lot of Hydras here, so he doesn't want to expose his Prism. First Nova goes off, just zones away the army. Second Nova goes off as well. Ooh. Gets a Roach, gets a Hydra. Could have been better. The thing is that this initial drop, it kind of shows your hand a little bit. You know, this is meant to deal the most damage because now Ryu is on edge. Catching Ryu off guard is going to be that much more difficult, so MasTeR not getting the best connections he needed. He's back though. Oh, throws out another Nova. This time again, doesn't quite connect. Has a second. A little bit premature, at least gets a... Not even. I was going to say at least gets a Creep Tumor, but MasTeR picks up a little bit too quickly. A little bit too hot on that pickup. And now that window that we were talking about has closed. 4 Vipers are on the way. To be fair, they still need a little bit of time to gather that energy, so MasTeR still has a bit of a window, but the window is closing, and soon that window is going to be sealed shut. Like, once we have all these Vipers up and running, like, there is no way a Nova connects, right? Meanwhile, Fleet Beacon is on the way. Like, those upgrades are going to come into play. Ironically, oh, they may. We'll see if MasTeR can survive long enough. As he rotates around, that 5th base is looking a little bit under threat. Ryu did double expand though, so he can afford to cancel one of these bases. Ooh, meanwhile, we see the Yoink. Prism is going to go down. Meanwhile, we still got plenty of energy on these Vipers. MasTeR has to be so careful. The good thing about MasTeR's army is that he has a lot of disruptors. I don't think Ryu has enough abducts available. Oh, good. Exposing his Vipers a little bit there. MasTeR just kind of dancing, flirting with the army. Doesn't know if he wants to commit yet. Doesn't know if he's about that lifestyle. We'll back off. Oh god, but he has to be careful, the disruptors are exposed. Okay. They're able to zone out the army for now. Ryu does get his 5th base up and running. 1 disruptor is going to get picked off. Should get picked off. 2 of them, 3 of them. Oh my god. 4. 5. Ryu just doesn't stop. Oh my god. 5 disruptors get taken out, but there's not enough energy for any more Novas. For any more abducts, sorry. 2 Novas go off, decent connections, but those were the only 2 available for MasTeR. And now the Lurkers, they can just keep on pushing forward. Only a single disruptor left. And maybe I spoke too soon. Oh, decent last second split there, but again, there were so many abducts that went off, so many disruptors went down that there just isn't really enough here. I say that, but a juicy Nova in the middle of this army. Unfortunately, it takes 2 Novas to kill a Lurker, and these Robos are exposed. Uh-oh. They are going to be going down here. Mothership is on the way. Nova goes off, and it does kind of connect, gets 2 Hydras, but Ryu was doing so much damage with this already. He's went back home with his Vipers. He's regathering that energy, and I think they're coming back. Soon to you. Ryu with a little bit of miscontrol there leaves his Lurkers a little bit idle, but actually, it doesn't seem like there's vision here with this army. There's no detection. Okay, never mind. Okay, we do have 1 observer here. Lurkers are forced all the way back. Ryu had a great fight. He took down a base. He took down a load of disruptors. Traded well with the army. But where are those Vipers? We need them now. And here we go. Just on cue, they are rolling on in. We have 3 Purification Novas available. They will connect. They will go off. But you know what? Vipers, they don't just have to abduct. They have Blinding Clouds as well. We see 1 Yoink. A 2nd Yoink. Finally going to get the disruptor. And Ryu has held. Meanwhile, MasTeR, I thought we were going to see a bigger commitment into Sky Toss. Even though we have a Fleet Beacon, it was actually only just for the Mothership. Odd choice. Like, usually when you go up against Lurkers, that is the cue. That is the cue to take to the skies. And MasTeR kind of did that, but he's still committed to Ground Toss. He's going into Immortals instead. Immortals can work against Lurkers, but it's just so difficult to actually make it work. Meanwhile, the Lurkers are kind of boxing themselves in. We have more Novas going off left and right. Do we have detection? We do have detection available for Ryu, but he just doesn't have the supply to really deal with this. Gets 22 probes, but he's gonna lose his army for it. It's too much anyway. I was gonna say Ryu, he has the economy to remax. He may have boxed himself in. He may be losing all of his Lurkers, but in the end, MasTeR loses too much, trying to force himself in. GG gets called, and Ryu takes the game. I'm shocked though. I'm shocked that MasTeR went for the Fleet Beacon, but didn't go for a 2nd Stargate. I was like, what? It's like, what? I was so confused, especially because he got +1 ship armor as well. I mean, props to MasTeR for seeing Mass Lurker and being like, all right, let's throw down 2 more Robos. He had 4 Robos. He had 4 Robos. He was making just Mass Immortal towards the end. You know, shout out to MasTeR for trying to make it work, but trying too hard, I think. It's just easier to just make Void Rays and make carriers, you know. So yeah, GG, well played. Ryu does take game number 2, and now we have an ace match. Oh my god. Hey Papi, more banger LA games today? Of course, Jadolf, of course. Hello, Jadolf, hello. I'm gonna allow this. Shaking my head, shaking my head. Alright, let's go. As we are diving into game number 3, the ace match between these two players. Which way will this go? Will it go the way of the player here in the bottom left-hand corner? Spawning in Blackburn LE, we have the CranKy Duckling himself, the Peruvian Zerg player hailing from the land of Italy, or living in Italy. It is Ryu. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Blackburn LE, we have the Brazilian Protoss player himself representing Platinum Heroes. It is MasTeR. Otherwise known as the King of Pain. Somehow related to the conversation going on in chat about ball gags. But we'll see how this goes. We shall see. Again, very peculiar kind of composition from MasTeR last game. I was legitimately confused as to what was happening. I don't know if I've ever seen a Protoss player go for a fleet beacon just for the mothership. Like, especially because like memes have been made about like -400, you know, like it's usually not what you want to prioritize from a fleet beacon, but I guess MasTeR has other ideas. MasTeR has other plans, I guess. Question mark? Okay, sure. Yeah, I was thinking like if you're going for a mothership that quickly, I thought he was going to use it for a recall, like bearing in mind that lurkers aren't the most mobile units. They're pretty mobile when it comes to other siege units like tanks, for example, or broodlords. But like I was thinking maybe like a recall into the main or something could work well, like force a base trade scenario sort of thing. Yeah, I think there were options available to MasTeR there, outside of the way that he played that out. Regardless, very unique game. GG, well played. As we get into the ace match, something that I also wanted to bring up is that we are on Blackburn. I'm a little bit interested in what the vetoes were, because Blackburn is one of the least popular maps in the map pool. We don't see many games on it because of that, because of the short rush distance by air, by ground, the gold bases as well. It's just an uncomfortable map to play on for a lot of players. I would assume that Ryu is also a player who finds this map a little bit uncomfortable, just because I feel like he excels in the late game. Like, we saw him and how he controlled Hydra Lurker Viper last game, how he controlled his abducts, his positioning with his lurkers, his army movement as well. Like, that is where Ryu thrives the most. With that army, I do think that he has he has the best army control with that composition in Latin America, even more so than Champ. But getting there on Blackburn, it's hard. it's just straight up harder. So yeah, I wonder what the vetoes were. Like, I guess Berlingrad, obviously, maybe Curious Minds after that, just because of the rush distance as well, maybe. I'm just trying to think as to what Ryu would have avoided. The other vetoes would have been Hardwire, maybe that would have been from MasTeR, and Glittering Ashes. Oh, sorry, map 1 was Glittering Ashes. Huh. What am I missing? I almost said Jagannatha. No, that hasn't been in the map pool for a while. Yeah. Interesting vetoes nonetheless, that this would make it through. Oh. Meanwhile, Lings are coming across the map, and ooh, they get a full surround here on the Adept. So nice pickoff, get the Adept, and also going to force a delay here on the third Nexi. Even gets a kill in the probe. Meanwhile, quickly checking the vision of Ryu, he was able to confirm the Stargate opener coming out. He didn't see what came out of the Stargate, but now sees it was an Oracle. Not just one, this is a triple Oracle opener. The second Oracle about to meet up here with the first, and we have a third on the way as well. So this makes a lot of sense. MasTeR going for triple Oracle, I imagine, into Blink Stalkers. There's a Twilight Council. This has been very popular recently, and I feel like on Blackburn, this is going to be at its strongest. Like, these Stalkers have so much pushing power. Assuming that's what he goes for. Meanwhile, Ryu just confirms that, okay, you have indeed taken your third base. Doesn't want to get caught off guard by some kind of weird 2-base all-in. At the same time, Oracles try and dip in towards a third hatchery, but Ryu is here with his queens. He's all good. He defends, and he expands. So everything looking normal for the time being. Ryu is in the dark, until now. He was in the dark, and then he goes into the main base, confirms the Forge as well as the Twilight Council. He should know 100%, especially with the way that the gases are being taken here, that this should be Blink Stalkers. And there have been a couple of different responses to Blink Stalkers over the past couple of weeks from different players. I still really love Scarlet's way of dealing with it. I still love the fast Evo chamber into +2. +1 melee, eventually +2 melee. Like, it looks so good when she did it. I wish more players tried it out. I can't wait to see more of her, and maybe in DreamHack Valencia, to see if she still sticks with it and if she's refined it as well. But it looks like Ryu instead is going to go for the range round instead and go for roaches. Meanwhile, oh my god. oh my god! Ah! I was following the 4 oracles. I didn't realize how much devastation they would cause, despite the fact that there were 3 queens in position and a spore. MasTeR, you just don't care. Was it worth it though? Like, when you go for this style, oracles have a lot of utility with the army, a surprising amount of utility. But to throw away 2 oracles like that, probably worth it. But we'll see if he regrets it later on. Meanwhile, a little bit of a depress here at the third base gets cleaned up as well. Ryu taking up very quickly. I don't know how I feel about this. This is a very early Hydra deck. Specifically, like, Blink Stalkers, they hit hard and they hit fast. I don't know if you have time to get Hydras out. It's possible, especially because MasTeR is taking a 4th base, to be fair. But I am worried that Ryu may be rolled over before he gets into those Hydras. We'll see. Oracles once again try to dip in towards the main base, head towards the natural instead. They still find more damage. With 2 oracles, you have the one-shot potential. Ooh, but I like this, kind of. Ryu does this very often. He's going roaches into hydras, and as 1 oracle gets picked up. And he has a lot of roaches, to be fair. How do you make use of these roaches? Burrow and tunneling claws. His role here, his goal is to keep MasTeR back at home, and I'll give Ryu the time to take up into hydras and eventually lurkers. We'll see if he can do it though, because again, this is the problem that I was talking about. Lurker Den is on the way. A lot of money was invested in tech, not in army, and because of that, Ryu's army here is looking pretty small. Oh boy. But again, he just needs it to be big enough to survive. And because there's no prism with this, because there's no way to reinforce, MasTeR, he can't really overwhelm this. If he did have a prism, it'd be a different story, but because he doesn't, MasTeR, he's stuck, you know, warping in at home, getting some charge else out instead, giving Ryu time that he desperately needs. And a couple of buys are going to keep this army at bay for the time being. Lurker Den is about to finish up. We should be seeing Hydra soon. There we go, the first wave of Hydras are on the way. And once the Lurkers come out, Blink Stalkers, they're not going to be able to push in. So very risky, very greedy play coming out here from Ryu. So far he's doing okay. He lost a couple of roaches a little bit needlessly. And I do worry a little bit about that. Oh my god, even files himself a little bit. And again, like, this roach army is getting small. At the same time, Zealot Rambai does hit the natural base. Oh my god, he's breaking in. And again, was Ryu too greedy? Was he too greedy, papi? Ah! We have 14 roaches on the way. Is it going to be enough? The Ravagers are starting to fall. They're being focused down. Zealots are still not dealt with here either. They just keep rallying in towards the natural base. Looks like MasTeR is breaking on through here towards the north and the south. And he may already be broken. We do still have 13 roaches on the way, but I don't know if MasTeR can hold on to this base. He's trying to. We do see a transfuse being thrown down, but more stalkers are showing up. Ryu trying desperately, but the Zealots, they just don't stop, Papi. They don't stop. We see a full surround, and MasTeR, he has the momentum, and he's not getting rid of it. The Lurker Den is not going to come into play here. There is no way. This is what I'm talking about. Maybe on another map, maybe on Glittering Ashes, maybe on Pride of Altaris, you can do something like this. But on Blackburn, no way. There's no way the Protoss just gives you the time in the world to take up. GG gets called, and MasTeR takes Game 3 and the series. Ryu, papi. Ah. I could see the logic. There was a lot of money being spent though in tech. Burrow, Tunneling Claws, Hydroden, and Lurker Den. Oof. That's a lot of money not being spent on army, and unfortunately, Blink Stalkers, you have to commit into that Roach Ravager Ling army, because otherwise, as we saw, you will get overwhelmed. You cannot be that greedy against it. It punishes you for being greedy like that, especially on a map like Blackburn. So my heart goes out to Ryu. I know he wanted to get into his lurkers, and to be fair, if he did, he would have won. He probably would have won the game. Like, like the aggression from the Protoss player would have ended. We didn't have any robo production. We didn't have any observers or anything like that to really deal with lurkers on the fly. It would have been a win condition, don't get me wrong, but yeah, I think Ryu was thinking a little bit too far ahead and not at what was coming at him here and now. Oof. GG.